Well, hey, everybody, grace and peace. Welcome to Find the Intersection. My name is Paul Dezay. I'm the pastor of Sandy Hook United Methodist Church here in Columbus, Indiana. It's good to be with you on this Friday. Hey, we're going to give you a preview for Sunday's service and sermon at the end, but right now we want to focus in on the intersections for the week as we approach this coming Sunday. These passages that you see on the right side of the screen in the four corners are the lectionary passages, or the passages for this coming Sunday's Revised Common Lectionary. So on Monday, we talked about Mark chapter 6, verses 1 to 13. This is an amazing passage, really has two parts. The first part deals with Jesus being rejected in his hometown. And that is an incredibly significant thought, that the faith of the people, the lack of honor, influenced the way that Jesus was able to do what Jesus desired to do. His will was to perform miracles and to proclaim the gospel of the kingdom, but the people dishonored the hometown boy and were not recipients of that. And pretty crazy, isn't it? The second part is Jesus sending the disciples two by two out into the mission field, uh, dependent upon God for the resources, dependent upon the hospitality of the people that they visit in the towns. They're called to do the things that Jesus was doing, to cast out demons, to heal the sick, and they were successful. They were dependent upon God. God worked through them to build his kingdom. Tuesday's passage on the upper right-hand corner was 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 2 to 10. Paul's authority has been challenged within the church in Corinth. And Paul talks about this person. Most scholars believe that this person who was transported to the third heaven was actually Paul. But this person did that. And that's, of course, mysterious, what the third heaven is. I've read several commentaries that refer to the first heaven being the skies, because oftentimes in scriptures in the Old Testament you refer to the skies as the heavens. The second is the nearness of God, and the third level of heaven is the throne room of God. So I'm not sure if that's what Paul was referring to, but that's what some scholars are saying. Paul has a thorn in his flesh. He's praying. God does not take it away. And then it talks about strength and weakness, that boasting in weakness and the power of God, how God's power works in the midst of weakness. And Paul was dependent upon God in the midst of the weakness that came from the thorn in the flesh. So God's glory moved through Paul as he ministered to people. Wednesday's passage in the bottom left-hand corner is Ezekiel chapter 2, verses 1 to 5. This is the call of Ezekiel to be a prophet of God to his own people who are rebellious and who have turned away from God. And the success of his ministry isn't based on whether they're accepting the message or not. That's a clarification in there. So that's a good reminder for all of us in leadership in church, that oftentimes success isn't based upon how people receive the gospel. It's based on our faithfulness in delivering it. This is definitely a challenging calling for Ezekiel. And there's also the reference to Son of God, which is, or Son of Man, which Jesus referred to himself as. So maybe Ezekiel's calling to be a prophet kind of foreshadows Jesus as a prophet, delivering the news to, the good news to the religious leaders and how they were not receptive. Yesterday's passage is the bottom right-hand corner, Psalm 123. This is a song of ascent. This is one of the 15 songs that would have been sung on the pilgrimage to Jerusalem by Christian people, by Jewish people, for festivals and feasts. Jesus would have sung this psalm as well as the other 15 psalms of ascent on his journey to Jerusalem. It starts with an individual call from our eyes to lift to the Lord for help. And then in verse 2, it shifts to community focus. So it's individual at first, and then verse 2, it talks about the eyes of the servants. It's important that the psalmist is talking about he himself, but then expresses how he is a part of a community, and we need to remember that. Verse 2, it talks about trusting of the servants, how the servants trust the master. Verse 4 talks about, verse 3 talks about mercy, and mercy is repeated. That's definitely a theme. We have to be dependent upon God for mercy. And then verse 4 talks about the lamenting the oppressors that are after the psalmist and the people. So, what were the intersections that you discovered this week? That's the center box where we jot down intersections, themes, threads. The first I wrote down was sentness, that God sends us on a mission. And we see this in Mark chapter 6, verses 1 to 13, as Jesus sent the disciples two by two. Ezekiel was called on mission to be a prophet. We are sent people. But also another intersection is that we are dependent upon God. Just as the disciples who were sent two by two had to be dependent upon God for provisions and dependent upon those that provided hospitality, we are also dependent upon God as we minister. And then last I wrote down, we have a part to play in the mission of God. We have a part to play. God desires for us to build his kingdom, to be a part of the building of a kingdom. God actually builds the kingdom, but we are co-laborers. We're collaborating with God, partnering with God in the building of his kingdom. So those are the intersections. Could you share with me what you discovered as you read the scriptures this week? Now, a preview for Sunday here at Sandy Hook. We're doing a combined outdoor service at 11 a.m. This coming Sunday is the 4th of July, so we'll be worshiping outside in the front of the church at 11 a.m. And following the service, we'll have a picnic. The church will provide the meat and the drinks, and we just ask everyone to bring a side or dessert to share, and make sure to bring a chair. It'll be a great time. Looking forward to worshiping with you. The sermon is the 5th part of the sermon series, When God Doesn't Make Sense, the final part. And we're going to be talking about partnering with God, collaborating with God, and how God desires to use us, to partner with us in the building of its kingdom. And of course, this builds on everything that we've talked about over the last 4 weeks. And if you haven't been here, don't worry, I will review where we've been, but I'm super excited about closing out this series with you on the 4th of July. And hey, stay dry out there. Grace and peace, everyone. Take care. I'll see you soon.